I guess that week that I got sent home was, we had just had transfers, and I had got put with a new companion. And the companion that I had before this new one was my best friend, and we had so much fun together, and she was really able to help me, kind of de-stress. And she was really patient with me, and we also just, we worked so well together, and we had so much fun together, but we were only together for that one transfer. And so, being together one transfer and then getting transferred, it was a huge shock to me, and I didn't know how I was going to function without her, and I was kind of overwhelmed at having to kind of lead this area, so to speak. And so there was a lot of emotion going on with having this companion get transferred. Just the shock that she was being transferred, and that we'd only been together for 6 weeks, and I was going to miss her. And I feel like that's normal. A lot of missionaries feel that when they're close to a companion, and then just feeling that just overwhelmed at getting a new companion. And I started kind of horribleizing, well, what if she's like this, and what if she's like that, and what if she can't handle my issues, and what if I just, all the what ifs. And so we went to that transfer meeting, and I got my new companion, and I was trying really hard to just be positive and be strong. And at the end of that transfer meeting, I just was kind of choking. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is the end. Now we have to go back and work. And I remember making eye contact with my mission president's wife, and she came up to me right after, because she could see me kind of crying, and she came up to me. She's like, Sister Gruenwald, you can do this. And I just kind of crumbled in her arms. I was like, I can't do it, and I can't. I couldn't see, I couldn't picture myself, making it and working hard, and I didn't know how I was going to keep going. And I was like, I can't do it, I can't. And so, but I tried. We got back, and I was just really overwhelmed, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to talk to. The investigators that we had gotten baptized, so we didn't really have investigators, and it was I was like, I don't know. I'm horrible at finding. It's terrifying for me. I didn't know what to do. And this new companion that I had was an incredible missionary. She was a hard worker, and she was so confident in her abilities as a missionary, and she wanted to work hard, and she wanted to, not waste time, not, not take breaks. And, I needed kind of a break every now and then. And the thing is, she inspired me to work hard. I wanted to keep up with her. I wanted to work hard, and I wanted to be like her, but I couldn't. And I was overwhelmed. I felt like there was this, I felt like I had to try, and I had to work hard, and I had to for her, so that she could fulfill her purpose as a missionary. And I didn't want to slow her down, and I didn't want to hold her back and stuff, but I was still kind of just coping, or trying to cope with everything that had just happened with transfers and stuff, and I was really overwhelmed. And I remember, one morning I woke up, I think it was the next day, and I was just like, I have no idea how I'm going to get through today. I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, we had planned our day, but I was like, I have no idea if this is even going to work. And, I was just overwhelmed, and I was just crying, nonstop crying. And it had nothing to do with my companion. It had nothing to do with her. All she wanted to do was work hard and be a good missionary. And I did too, but I just had this, whatever was going on in my head that was keeping me from doing that. And so I, was getting ready one morning, and I had just gotten out of the shower, and I was just crying and crying, because I was like, I have to go and get ready, and, and then we got to go out and we got to work. And I was frustrated because my heart wanted to do those things. My heart wanted to serve. My heart wanted to work hard just like her. And And I started to get really frustrated with myself. I was like, why can't I just get over this? Why can't I just, push through it? Why can't I just work hard? Why can't, why? And I like hated myself, and I got really frustrated. So I was like in there in the bathroom, and I found, this is kind of graphic, and I found a razor, and I started cutting myself. And the thing is, it was like an out of body experience, in that like I was like watching myself do this, and I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Like, stop. And there's hope all around you, and just open up to your companion, and maybe you can talk about it, and like there are other options. It can work. But that part of my brain, that broken part, just kind of took over, and I started to hurt myself, and I'm not proud of it, and I'm kind of embarrassed by it, but it happened. And so my companion told my mission president, and I was kind of mad that she told him, because I didn't want him to know, because I was already walking on thin ice, because of the attempts. And he should have just sent me home, the first time, but he knew how much I wanted to be there, and how, my heart was really in the right place, and that I loved the Lord, and I wanted to serve. And so when she told him, I was like, oh no, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, dang it, this can't end well. And so the next day they had me pack my bags. And I was like, oh no, am I going home? I thought, I was hoping that I was just getting like emergency transferred somewhere closer to the mission home, so I could be closer to the mission president. And so that was kind of what I was hoping. And I remember I had my bags packed, and we were getting ready to go to the mission office, and I was just heartbroken, because I loved the area that I was in. I was in an area that changed my life, and I was serving in a ward that was absolutely incredible. And there were families in that ward that had helped me, that kind of could tell that I struggled, and I was like crushed to have to leave that area. But I got to the mission home, and actually before I left, we got a phone call from our district leaders. It was a Thursday, and so we were supposed to be weekly planning, and I was on the phone with our district leader, and he's like, how's weekly planning going? And I was like, we didn't weekly plan. I had to pack my bags, and I was like, Elder, I have no idea what's gonna happen. And I was like, I'm going to the mission home, and I don't know what's gonna happen. And he was the most incredible district leader. He just let me cry on the phone. I was like, I tried so hard. And he was so sweet. He was just like, I know you did. And so we got to the mission home, or to the mission office, and I was with the office sisters for kind of the rest of that day. And then that night, I was at the mission home with the mission president, and he sat me down in his office, and he's just like kind of talking to me, and just saying, what happened. And I, just kind of started to tell him, and I looked at him, and I was like, President, I don't know how I'm going to get through tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I couldn't picture myself getting through. And he just looks at me, and he says, well, you don't have to worry about tomorrow, because you're going home. And I just fell apart. Because I didn't want to go home. I wanted to find a way that it could work, that I could be a missionary and work hard and try, and I was like, no, President, please don't send me home. But I guess he had talked to Salt Lake and Missionary Medical, and had kind of explained what had happened, and what, the patterns, and they they said to send me home, and it was so hard because it was a Thursday night that he told me, "You're going home," and I was on a plane Friday morning, and so it was kind of like out of nowhere, and so that night I didn't sleep, and I didn't want to go home. And the next morning I got up, and my mission president, drove me to the airport, and it was just really fast. He was just kind of like, took my bags out, we checked them in, and he was just like, "All right, I love you, bye." And I was like standing there at the airport like, what do I do? And I couldn't get on the plane, and I was like standing there and in the gate, and they had like called my boarding group, and I was like the last person to get on the airplane. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And so I finally got on, and as the plane, landed in Salt Lake, all the emotions just started coming, and I was like, dang it, I failed, and how am I gonna face everyone? How am I gonna move on from this? And there was a split second of peace, and I can't deny it. There's just this moment of peace, and this thought just came to my head, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." And I knew that God had accepted the 4 months that I gave him, and that I had tried my absolute hardest, and and I was crushed to have to come home, but I knew that God knew that I tried, and that I'd given everything that I had. And so, that moment didn't last very long. All the emotions started coming again, and I didn't know how I was gonna face my family. I didn't know how I was gonna, face my friends, and coming home was the hardest thing. I remember I got off the plane, and I went to like one of the little, I guess, like shops in the airport, and I like bought a bottle of water, and I told the cashier, I was like, "Can I get my change in quarters?" And so I had like this big, a ton of quarters, and I went to the payphone, and I tried calling my mission president, and he didn't answer, but I left this message. I was like, I can't go down that escalator. I can't do it. I was like, "Please let me come back. Please let me come back. I can't do this. I'll work harder. I'll try harder. Just let me come back." And after a while, I was like, my luggage is probably just going around the thing. I should probably go down and go get it. So I finally was able to go down, and later that night I was released, and as I was meeting with the stake president, I was telling him, I was like, "I don't want to be home. I just want to go back. I wanted to serve. I wanted to give everything that I had. I wanted to give all 18 months to the Lord." And and he was telling me, he's like, "I spoke with your mission president, and it sounds like you were an incredible missionary. And, he's like, you're being honorably released." And, and that was comforting, I guess. And so I got released, and I was just a mess. I was such a mess. And after he released me, he's like, you can take your name tag off. And I was just like, "No, please don't make me do it." And that was so hard. And even to this day, I look at my name tag every single day. And it was the hardest thing I've ever been through, having to come home. I had been through trials that really affected me, deeply, but this was just a whole other level of hard. And I wish I didn't, I don't know, because I mean, I don't want to say that I wish I didn't go through it, because I learned so much from it. But it was hard, and just seriously the hardest thing I've ever been through. So.